old Saskatchewan, people took off all of their clothes. Well, that happens in the new Saskatchewan too, but let me finish the sentence. Took off all of their clothes to pose naked in a fundraising calendar because they couldn't get anyone to fix their highway. And they thought this would be a good way to draw attention to the plight of Highway 32 as one example. And I live very near Highway 32, and I know some of the people that posed in that calendar. And I want to tell you this. We want to have better highways in the province. So that, yes, they're safer, but importantly so that there is never, ever a calendar like that again in Saskatchewan. And so Highway 32 is now fixed. They had a big grand opening there, and 3 record capital budgets in highways, and likely another one to come in the spring, means that we know there's a lot of work to do. By the way, we've inherited a $1 billion deficit in terms of our highways in the province of Saskatchewan, but we're getting the work done, and there's more to come, including, by the way, the $1.8 million in highway spending that are actually identified for the 2 constituencies in Moose Jaw, which you'd think are mostly sort of urban ridings, but $1.8 million since 2007, including Highway 1 and 9th Avenue to the tune of about $1.2 million. We know more is needed, and we'll make those investments on behalf of you for safer roads and roads to resources and roads to the economy that we want for all of Saskatchewan. And ladies and gentlemen, on this road less traveled, we have worked hard to build a dynamic economy, but we haven't lost sight of good old Saskatchewan values that we need to take care of those who are most vulnerable among us. We've listened to people like you here in Moose Jaw area, to people that have for some time been identifying to anyone who would listen that there's a major problem for those of our fellow travelers in Saskatchewan with intellectual disabilities. We identified a wait list early on in our government of 440 of your fellow citizens, the most vulnerable of us, who have intellectual disabilities, who need the dignity of a place to live and the engagement with societies, whose families need some respite. They need that programming as well. We identified a plan, by the way, and allocated some money to eliminate that wait list within 4 years, and we're ahead of schedule on that as well. And Moose Jaw has played a part in that. To help meet those needs, we opened the Southview Group Home. That's a government-owned 3-bedroom bungalow overlooking Wakamo Valley right here in Moose Jaw. And person by person on this wait list, we have built places for people to live together with CBOs and non-government agencies across this province directly from social services so that they would have the dignity of a place to live and engagement with our communities. We've developed a unique partnership with Habitat for Humanity, which includes a $1 million grant for them to deliver 20 units of affordable homeownership in communities across the province. And I'm proud to say, as you know, that just 2 weeks ago, construction began on the very first Habitat for Humanity home for a family here in the city of Moose Jaw. Ladies and gentlemen, clear as a traffic light on this new road, there are certain values that mark this road less traveled. Your values. They color our Saskatchewan. They make us stronger. They are the values that say this is a hopeful place, not because of the government, but because of the people. That this place, though it's enjoying some success, is still very humble, even though we're feeling just a little bit bolder maybe than we've ever felt, more hopeful for the future. You want, I hope, the kind of government that reflects those values, and we're working hard, though imperfectly, to be that kind of government. So, when we hear of so-called liberation treatment for MS patients, when we consider that this province has, unfortunately, the highest incidence of MS that you'd find in the country and maybe around the world, our government, our MLAs are the kind of folks that listen to you and say, maybe we should answer some questions around this treatment, not just for us, but for the country and the world. If our residents are literally involved in bake sales and fundraising to travel to faraway lands to have a treatment for an illness that seems to be unfortunately dominant in our province. Maybe the government should step in through public health and our universities and lead in the research so that we can answer the questions yes or no, so we can do that decency and offer that respect for those who battle MS and for their families. And so we listened, and we have, and now those clinical trials will happen in the province of Saskatchewan. And when we made that decision, I had the media say, well, you're kind of standing alone now. Saskatchewan's standing alone. No, we're not. We're standing with thousands of MS patients from our province and from across the country. We stand with doctors and researchers who think it's time to find out the answers to these questions, and we stand with those who are perhaps unaffected by MS, who believe that the government should be in the hope business, that we should ask and answer questions on behalf of those who battle disease, and we're proud to do it, and we're grateful for the support that we've received from all of you to get that done. Ladies and gentlemen, there's other values in Saskatchewan. In the new Saskatchewan, we've tried to reflect, and we've tried to remember them through the potash takeover issue that just has dominated news across the country and arguably around the world for the last little while. And I won't go on for a long time about that. You've probably heard enough about it and heard our position. But I just want to say this. Countries around the world that are free trading, free market countries have rules around foreign investment. Free trading and free market countries and jurisdictions say we want foreign direct investment, but there may be some strategic acquisitions that we'll have to look at just a little bit differently. And from time to time around the world, including in places like Australia, which is home to the world's largest mining company, BHP Billiton, from time to time countries around the world like Australia have said no. In 2001, Australia said no to Royal Dutch Shell on a natural gas play. They said it was not in their strategic interest. Do you know what happened in terms of investment in Australia after they made that decision? It increased year after year after year because Australia's brand didn't change. They were still a free market, free trading country that was working hard to keep its taxes low and to be a good place that was welcoming to investment. And when America has said no to foreign takeovers, nobody burst into flames. The economy continued, investment continued, and it was the same in France, and it was the same in Spain. And Saskatchewan has said now to the rest of the country and to the world, why would we be any different? Why wouldn't we consider the long-term impact of our strategic resources in potash and uranium? While we welcome foreign direct investment, we may from time to time, rarely though, but from time to time have to say, no, not this particular deal. It's not in our long-term interest. We are going to keep the long view. We are going to consider future generations. That's the stand we took, ladies and gentlemen, because of people like you. And do you know what happened today? Vale from South America announced they're interested in investing in a new potash mine in Saskatchewan. So, it was interesting. Andrew Coyne, who some of you may know from the At Issue panel on CBC, and he's a publisher, and I think he's got an interest in Maclean's magazine, was very mad at me for the decision we took, because he said the markets should rule here. It's a business deal, and stay out of it. So, because we have really good researchers in the Saskatchewan party, we found out that Maclean's magazine, that he's the publisher of, gets a $1.5 million taxpayer paid for grant from Heritage Canada, the federal government. So it was a great chance when I spoke in Toronto to say, for those who would counsel the government of Saskatchewan, that we need to absolutely, in every case, just let the markets make the decision. They perhaps better be careful in terms of who they're getting subsidies from, because I'm not sure Maclean's would be in business otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a good place in Saskatchewan, but we can't be complacent, and we got to remain humble. And as for the government and our MLAs, we have to have an attitude of service, because that's the business that we're in. We We have to finish off those few promises that remain from our campaign document, and we will. And we have to continue to reflect your vision for your province, that this place should lead. It's not just the chartered banks on Bay Street that say Saskatchewan should lead in GDP next year, and they are, by the way. It's all of you. And we need to make sure we're working hard to reflect that value. So in closing tonight, I'd like to invite you to compare the Saskatchewan that was with the Saskatchewan that now is. The Saskatchewan that was a place where we managed to climb. The Saskatchewan that now is a place where we plan for growth. The Saskatchewan that was a place where the driveways on the weekend would be full of vehicles with Alberta plates, home for the weekend, and ready to go back to Calgary on Sunday night. But in the Saskatchewan that now is, young men and women in driveways all over the province, including in Regina, are taking off those Wild Rose plates and they're putting on Saskatchewan plates. The Saskatchewan that was a have-not province, one that went to our neighbors, Alberta and British Columbia have provinces, with our handout, looking for some assistance. But the Saskatchewan that now is a full partner in the Free Trade New West Partnership, a have province, and one that approaches Alberta and British Columbia and the rest of the country, frankly, not with our hands out, but with our sleeves rolled up, ready to build a better Canada, ready to build a better Western Canada. In the Saskatchewan that was, your friends may have asked you from time to time, why do you still live in Saskatchewan? In the Saskatchewan that is, nobody asks you that anymore. The Saskatchewan that was followed. The Saskatchewan that is leads. The Saskatchewan that was a place to be from. The Saskatchewan that now is the place to be. The Saskatchewan that was a place that if we did happen to enjoy just a modest amount of success, people would say, this will never last. In the Saskatchewan that now is, if we suffer a bit of a setback, people say, this will never last. That's the road we're on today. That is the new road. You've paved it. We're trying to keep it paved on your behalf. The Saskatchewan that was looked back with regret to 1,000 yesterdays and wondered, lamented the opportunities that had been missed. But our Saskatchewan, your Saskatchewan, looks forward with anticipation to 1,000 tomorrows and dreams of opportunities yet unfulfilled. I don't know about you, but I like the new road. I'm not going back to the old road. Every now and then there's a crew that gets in their 1978 AMC Pacer. They got a driver who's recently come back from Calgary. Let's call him Dwayne. And every once in a while they'll drive off the old road and come onto the new road and say, we ought to go back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're 400 strong in Moose Jaw tonight. Here and across this province we're saying, we are not going back. We're going to move forward together. So thanks for coming, and may God bless our province.